Buckle up, kids! Not only because And Just Like That hits the proverbial accelerator this week, but also because it's driving like Caitlyn Jenner. Like and subscribe, pull the handbrake, and let's get into it. We discover early doors that Carrie and Aiden's solution to his understandable fear of the Bradshaw House of Horrors was to stay off and on for a month in a hotel. The latest in And Just Like That's finger on the pulse line of relatable content. If you can feel the wind peeling back the skin on your face, that's because Carrie's speedrunning their relationship like she's on a deadline. She invites herself to visit Aiden's Virginia farmhouse and meet his kids, the whole time whittering on about it all being very Howard's End. A story of intergenerational partner hopping we can only hope that Carrie isn't intending to repeat. Won't somebody think of the children? I think I'm ready to go on record and say that And Just Like That either doesn't think it'll get a third season or doesn't intend to have one regardless, because they are racing for the finish line here. I'd have less of a feeling of whiplash if I stole a city bus and jackknifed it through the front of Carrie's abandoned apartment. A series of later confessions confirms what the show's been driving at with all of this, namely that a wall has come down between Carrie and Aiden. The rotting, mouldy wall in question, of course, being Mr. Big, and the associated revelation being that choosing him over Aiden was a mistake. And there you have it. The time delay between Carrie and anybody with common sense is 19 years. That being said, in the process of erasing a controversial ex-cast member and their character from the narrative, they've inadvertently exposed something gross about Carrie. Imagine being Big, staring up from hell, hearing his beloved wife label him a mistake just because she's managed to entice her ex back into the web. Grim. And so Carrie, who let's not forget has a history of disappearing animals she feels inconvenienced by, jets off to Virginia to stay on a farm. Character growth? Or another piece of her long-established personality being chipped away to fit a storyline? Who cares? At this point, Carrie's got as much pull with the audience as a Rita Ora tweet. In preparation for her new full-time position at the Kasabian Gallery, Charlotte shops for new work outfits. That's how we discover that she intends to buy an updated version of what she wore in her 30s. And stood next to Lisa, whose look I will get to later, it's no surprise that she's inspired to revisit the 90s. An encounter with a passive-aggressively helpful shop assistant leads Charlotte to believe that she has a visible fupa, which in turn leads her to slap on enough Spanx to asphyxiate an entire bridal party. And once again, it's left for us to draw lines between this show and Sex and the City, because Charlotte's body dysmorphia has reared its head before. But, as you might expect, the show misses these opportunities for connective tissue and meaningful social commentary as hard as it misses the point of anything. When a week-long bone broth diet fails to remove one of her 2 remaining body fat percentage points, Char takes the plunge and goes back to work trussed up like an arthritic joint. Which is where we get an absolutely gross scene where she's inspired to ditch the elastic torture devices by the presence of a staff member bigger than she is. But then again, that's hardly a surprise. This wouldn't be the first time that Charlotte's commitment to sisterhood has been overridden by her own self-interest, much like Rita Ora's adherence to lockdown rules. This week in Who Gives a Shit news, a still financially ruined Che receives a lifeline when Carrie and Aiden sublet their fancy Hudson Yards apartment, setting them on the road to recovery. Remember the days when a main character broke up with someone and that person just f***ed off? I miss that. Lisa's stylistic choices continue to veer off the rails with this knee-length turtleneck dress, yellow fleece cape, and fanny pack combination. She's either offended the costume department or Professor X has invited her to hop back in time and join the f***ing X-Men. And the cause of Seema's weird anti-couple vendetta is revealed. She cancels her Hamptons plans with Carrie in fear of being left a sad singleton, while Miss Bradshaw drags Aiden off into the sunset. She also meets Marvel director Robbie, who I think is supposed to be a weird parody of Taika Waititi. So expect Seema to be in a throuple with Rita Ora by the end of the next episode. Miranda starts an internship at Human Rights Watch, which briefly brings last season's politically correct hypersensitivity raging back to the surface. A storyline I'm only willing to see them revisit if the conclusion features Ms. Hobbs making national news by snapping during a live press conference and hate criming an entire room of people. She quickly befriends younger interns Serena and Sloane, though this generational bridge only stands for a few brief minutes before Supervisor Rayner shells it by passing them over for a meeting that Miranda gets an invite to. This is, of course, New Age Miranda's nightmare, because they label her privileged for her immediate installation as the teacher's pet. Call it like you see it, ladies. This is cemented when super pregnant Rayner names Miranda her maternity cover, just after Ms. Hobbs announces that she's...
Actually, I'm a sexually confused alcoholic who's in the midst of a divorce.
Whoa, on that note?
Now there's a person who sounds stable enough to run an office. You'd get lower odds betting that Rita Ora won't appropriate someone else's culture to further her own career. Following his monstrous meat mallet's daytime TV debut last week, Giuseppe has proven a runaway hit with the randy customers of Anthony's Hot Fellas Bakery. But Giuseppe's attention is firmly fixed on Mr. Marantino, a fact never more obvious than when he does this. Anthony freaks out and fires his young suitor upon discovering that he's gay, as though having a straight employee 40 years your junior pressing his baguette up against your buns somehow wouldn't be crossing a line. This isn't exactly the first time that this show or its predecessor have shown what I would call a sanitized view of the gay community. But this might actually be the worst offense yet. Take it from me, every 60-something gay guy who doesn't have to break out his weekly pillbox and wait an hour beforehand wouldn't hesitate to chow down on that freshly baked ciabatta in front of the bread, that floor-to-ceiling window, and God. Making the most of his firing, Giuseppe makes a move on Anthony, and the two embark on their spring-winter relationship for real. Still, at least Giuseppe's intentions seem genuine. Which is a lot more than I can say for, alright fine, I don't like Rita Ora, okay? Last video's top comment came courtesy of the wonderfully usernamed He Say, She Say, How About Me Say, who, as far as I can tell, unknowingly went on a date with a guy from that one episode of The X-Files. A timely reminder that literally any situation that begins with a shart is unlikely to improve. This time around, I want to know your take on the Carrie and Aiden situation. Am I missing something, or is it all just a bit contrived? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Either way, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, if you can't be good, be crusty.